I'd been to plenty of corporate parties before, but something about that night felt different the moment we stepped into the ballroom. The lights were soft and golden, the music calm, and the laughter politely restrained. My wife, Melissa, looked breathtaking in her navy blue dress, graceful, confident, effortlessly beautiful. She worked in marketing for a luxury real estate firm, and this was their annual gala. Her boss, Andrew Collins, was the kind of man who made sure everyone knew he was in charge, loud, charming, and full of himself. I'd met him twice before. Both brief encounters. Both enough to decide I didn't like him. Still, I kept my composure. That's what you do when your spouse's career depends on maintaining peace. Ethan, Andrew called out as soon as we entered. He reached out for a handshake, firm and performative, the kind meant to show dominance. Finally get to see you outside a Christmas card photo. I smiled politely, shaking his hand without giving him that satisfaction. Good to see you again, Andrew. He grinned, eyes flicking toward Melissa. You didn't tell me your husband cleaned up this well. Laughter followed from the nearby table. Melissa forced a small smile, the kind that didn't reach her eyes. I noticed the tightness in her jaw, the sign she was uncomfortable. I told myself to ignore it. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe I was just overthinking. The evening went on with toasts, expensive wine, and the kind of laughter that echoed without joy. Melissa mingled with her coworkers, glowing with pride over how far she'd come. I shared that pride, until Andrew grabbed the microphone. He was tipsy now, confident in the worst way. And of course, he slurred, pointing toward our table, none of this success would be possible without people like Melissa, who somehow managed to balance spreadsheets and husbands at the same time. The crowd burst into laughter. Melissa's face turned crimson. I stayed still, expression blank, though something twisted painfully inside me. I glanced at her, but she avoided my eyes. Leaning closer, I whispered, "You okay?" "Just ignore it," she muttered. "He's drunk." I nodded, but when Andrew smirked and handed off the mic, I knew that line hadn't been accidental. Later at the bar, he approached me again. "Don't take offense, man," he said, clapping my shoulder. "You know how it is, just having fun. Melissa's incredible. Keeps the whole team in line. You're a lucky guy." I gave a faint smile, his tone crawling under my skin. "Yeah," I replied quietly. "I know I am." He chuckled, finishing his drink. "Relax. I'm just saying she's got potential. A woman like that could go far, with the right support." That phrase stuck with me. The right support. I'd seen the way he looked at her, not admiration, something else. When we got home, Melissa slipped off her heels and sat in silence. I waited until she spoke first. "He didn't mean it like that," she said suddenly. "Like what?" I asked. She sighed, rubbing her temples. "You know, he just talks too much." "Melissa," I said softly, "has he ever made you uncomfortable before?" Her pause was brief, but too long. "No, of course not, Ethan. Please don't turn this into something." I let it go, but that hesitation burned in my mind. The following Monday, I left work early and stopped by the cafe across from her office. I told myself it was just to surprise her. But when I looked through the window and saw them together, I'd seen enough corporate worlds to know how they worked: power, charm, and the subtle games played behind polite smiles. But seeing Melissa that afternoon through the cafe window, leaning slightly too close across the table from her boss, changed everything. Her nervous smile, the way she tucked her hair behind her ear, it told me more than words could. I didn't burst in or shout. I just stood there, memorizing every detail, his hand resting near hers. Her forced laugh, the quick glance toward the glass when she sensed me watching. That was the moment something inside me quietly broke. When she came home that night, I was sitting at the kitchen table, calm, phone face down beside my coffee. "How was work?" I asked. She froze in the doorway. "It was fine." "Why?" I looked up slowly. "We need to talk about Andrew." Her color drained. Purse still hanging from her shoulder, she hesitated before walking to the chair opposite me. "Ethan," she began, voice tight, "whatever you think you saw." I saw enough, I interrupted, keeping my tone steady. I'm not accusing you. I just want the truth. Her fingers twisted her wedding ring. It's nothing. He just wanted to talk about a project. Over coffee on a Monday evening, with his hand practically on yours? I asked. Her eyes widened. You were watching? I was, I admitted. And I'm not proud of it. But I had to know. Silence filled the room, the clock ticking painfully slow. Finally, she whispered. He's been inappropriate. Not always, but sometimes. Comments, looks. I didn't want to make trouble. He's powerful, Ethan. He can ruin careers. Something cold settled in me. So, you let it go? I thought I could handle it. You shouldn't have to handle it. Her eyes shimmered, though she refused to cry. Please don't do anything reckless. I gave a faint, hollow smile. You think I'm going to hit him? I think you're angry enough to destroy everything. She wasn't wrong. I was angry, but not the kind that explodes. The kind that plans. The kind that waits. The next day, I made a call to my friend Jordan, a cybersecurity expert. I told him I needed to monitor something quietly. He didn't ask much, just agreed. By Thursday, I had limited access to Melissa's company's public network, enough to observe without crossing any lines. That night, something curious appeared in the shared inbox, a company-wide email from Andrew himself. He'd attached the wrong file. With Jordan's help, I retrieved the hidden attachment. It wasn't just an error, it was evidence. Flirty messages, suggestive comments, and photos from company events where he'd cropped everyone out except Melissa. Nothing physical, but inappropriate enough to ruin his perfect image. I sat there, staring at the screen. The power he thought he had vanished right then. The next morning, I printed everything neatly, sealed it in an envelope, and drove to his office. Melissa didn't know. Andrew sat in his glass office, feet up, phone in hand. When he saw me, his smirk faltered. Ethan, he said cautiously, didn't expect you here. I closed the door, setting the envelope on his desk. You crossed a line, I said quietly. You disrespected my wife and used your position to intimidate her. He scoffed. You're overreacting. Open it. He hesitated, then tore the envelope open. As his eyes scanned the pages, the color drained from his face. Where did you? I don't need to explain, I interrupted. You're going to apologize to my wife and resign by the end of today. If you don't, this goes to HR and every partner you answer to. His jaw clenched. You think you can threaten me? I don't threaten, I said calmly. I promise. For a long moment he stared at me, then looked away. You'll regret this. No, I said, walking to the door. You will. When I got home, Melissa was pacing the living room, tears streaking down her face. Ethan, what did you do? Something I should have done the night he humiliated you, I replied. He won't be your boss anymore. She sank onto the couch, shaking. You could have cost me my job. I'd rather you lose a job than your dignity. She was silent for a long time. Then, quietly, what did you give him? Proof, I said simply. The kind that ends careers. A week later, Andrew Collins announced his retirement. The company praised his dedicated years of leadership. But everyone inside knew the truth. Melissa transferred to another firm soon after. Our marriage didn't heal overnight, but something shifted. Maybe respect. Maybe honesty. She never asked how I got those files, and I never told her. Months later, one quiet night, she said softly, I was scared of him, you know. Scared of what he could do. I nodded. He counted on that. She took my hand. And you weren't. I looked at her, faint smile touching my lips. He should have known better than to cross a man with nothing left to fear. Outside, the night was silent. Inside, for the first time in a long while, it felt like peace.